Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.
Hello and welcome to Alcohol Beyond This Point, the podcast where we discuss business topics, both sober and drunk, to see if we come to the same conclusion. My name is Willows.
And my name is Tyler. Good pause. Dramatic.
And welcome to...
The podcast that this is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome back. It's been so long. If
Yeah.
you're binging, literally seconds.
literally seconds.
I'll assume that you've been binging this.
I assume you've been binging. I actually assume you haven't been, because that would be annoying. I think we are up to like 8 unique listeners. So shout out all the 8 people.
I'm going to say 8 unique per episode.
Well, it's like, I think it like averages it out over the month or something.
So those 8 unique listeners, do they ever come back?
Yeah, well, no, it's like, because like views is different than like unique listeners, right?
Right.
Because like the same person could listen to like multiple podcasts.
Right.
So like monthly views doesn't necessarily accurately represent how many people are actually listening,
Sure.
right?
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what's up,
Anyways,
guys?
fantastic. Opening cider from some unknown company.
Yeah, we had a press conference today, the public health.
It was really enlightening, wasn't it? It made you feel good?
Every single question they were asked, they're just like, yeah, I don't know, you're fucked, you're on your own. They, like, our premier, the leader of our province, literally said Manitobans are on their own. Like, literally. Like, what is the point of like, you had a really good, say what you just said off camera with like...
Yeah, the defense of we need government is, well, what about when a crisis happens? What about when, there's a crime wave? What if there's a public health crisis, per se? And then it happens, and then as soon as, like, granted, as far as bad as health crises could be,
This pretty mild.
This one's pretty mild. Like, let's say we had a Spanish flu level of severity. The initial press conferences, that remember that we had back in, March 2020, that were very scary because they were new. It was novel. It was scary for all those reasons. But
It was
imagine
a novel coronavirus?
right, literally, novel experience for everybody. But imagine that was paired with the rhetoric of right now. Fuck, like. They're just like, yeah, we're beyond our capacity. We don't have enough beds. We don't have enough people. Our systems are stretched to their limits. We don't have the public. There's no public will to lock down. And even if we did lock down, it wouldn't work.
Even like 9 months ago, they were like, we can still have a society or a situation where we get to like COVID 0.
Yeah.
And we're fucked now. Like,
well,
this got out of hand so goddamn quick.
Like, as far as saying we're fucked, like, I mean, it is still pretty mild, but yeah, it's probably going to be the worst situation for our health system, period. Because, I mean, if you think it's not that bad, it's not that serious, just talk to a doctor, talk to a nurse, talk to literally anybody.
They're paid by the Liberal government, so I don't believe them.
Not all of them.
What?
Not all governments are liberal. They're Willows. Fuck off. I think, like, literally talk to anybody, but the strain on the human beings that have to bear the brunt of this and have been bearing the brunt of it for this long, it's not like I can't imagine asking that of anybody. Like, these people are working insane shifts.
And we're out of ambulance drivers now, apparently. There was a man, 80-year-old man, slipped on the ice yesterday. He was laying on the ground for 5 hours. He called, like, got his phone out of his pocket, called 911. They didn't even say, like, okay, sorry, we're busy. They said, sorry, we can't send anyone. Bye. Because we just don't have any ambulances.
Yeah, that's
you
fantastic.
couldn't have, like, they couldn't have sent, like, the intern. You know
no,
what I mean?
they just they don't have vehicles. They don't have, like,
well, how did the intern get to work?
I guess in the intern in his Corolla.
Yeah, send him in his Corolla.
No,
be like, get coffee on the way back.
No, the intern is out in uniform driving an ambulance.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, all the private stretchers are being used. Like, we're maxed out. Period. Like, it's in transfers, pickups, whatever.
And these are the people that you want to solve climate change?
Right. So
Is this government?
when push comes to shove, they're like, you can't fuck with us.
They're not
we
going to
lay down the law. You push just like a little bit harder. It's like, they're standing on the edge of a cliff and like one shove gets their back foot on the edge of the cliff and you just gotta fucking sneeze at them and then it all falls apart. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was a Tom Clancy game that was based on the idea of how quickly civilization could break down.
Yep.
And it showed like if you just did this one thing, I think it was like knock out either the grid. I think it was knock out the grid. Basically, like water and power was shut off, and it was like this whole narrative of how it would take 6 days to basically devolve into open war.
Well, have you seen that Rick and Morty where they like to defeat the aliens? He just hacks into their system and makes the dollar worth 0. Like just change a 1 to a 0.
Yeah.
And then the president's like, so we need to deal with this. And the general's like, I can solve it for money. And like everyone just like starts, he's like, I have a solution, just kills himself. And it's like, yeah.
I'm not so cynical that I think the world would turn into open war in 6 days, but I think everyone is fully aware of how fragile our, infrastructure is.
Yeah.
And it's already strained at this point, or at least well disrupted.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of depressing news in our feed today, including from our friend JL sending us like, agricultural updates and being like, these are the impacts. And it's like, yeah, it's fucking grim.
Yeah.
Like the climate change, immigration and displacement is just, it's going to be insane. Like we were making predictions. I actually wanted to do this on the show because I've heard it on a couple of others. Predictions for the coming year.
For 2022.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you like to make any? Let's say different categories. Let's say,
sure.
First and foremost, just, local economy business-wise.
The same or worse?
Same or worse?
We're going to be still at 50% capacity in a year from now? Or everyone's if we get through COVID this year, do you think okay, let's start there. Do you think we're going to get through COVID this year, in this calendar year?
Get through it?
Yeah.
Not, like as in where it's not a daily conversation? I would say not.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think we got another few years. If it keeps mutating, it's just going to go on forever, right?
Typically, these things run in cycles of like 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
That's how long it takes to burn itself out.
Dude, I'm going to be like 30 when this is done. I don't like it.
That sucks, but imagine if you were 15 and now 20. Like,
wow.
You
became thinking about it.
Like you became an adult and like you're getting into the job field or getting into the, full-time work, or you're going into college and you've never seen a dorm, you've never seen the inside of a lecture hall.
Never seen a pussy.
Let's say you're a lawyer, but you've never seen the inside of like a boardroom.
Yeah, because you're just on Zoom.
It's gonna be weird.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really weird.
Yeah. So I don't think COVID's going to be done in the next year. So I think our government in Canada likes to have this approach where they're like, we're being more responsible than the United States government. Because the United States government's just not doing anything, right? Everything's back open. There's no restrictions. There's no masks. Like,
yeah.
Right. Canadian government likes to be like, hey, look how much more responsible we are than them. But meanwhile, they're just like, they do these half-ass measures. They don't actually do anything. So like, for example, my business, I have a winery and a bar, and the bar has been closed, and right now, currently, as we speak, it's at 50% capacity. I can only have half the tables available.
Yeah.
And stuff like that is making it so customers don't come in the first place because they're scared of COVID or whatever, which is fine, right? Like, I understand. But then I can't do sampling at stores because of the mask mandate and like whatever. So my income is significantly impacted like I'm talking the 10, 20, 30% of what I should be making, or like 70% of what I should be making, and I'm not growing, which is a problem. But COVID isn't none of these restrictions, the 50%, the no sampling, none of that's helping. So we're worse off because not only are not containing the virus and there's nothing we can do, but we're also hurting the economy significantly by putting in restrictions.
Yeah, we should just be like Florida and just let it ride.
Either lock us down or fucking open it up.
Yeah.
Don't do this weird half measure like no one's benefiting from this.
Yeah, so I think... Okay, I don't want to get back into the news press conference. We'll do that later. But on the COVID front, we're not going to get through it. I think economy-wise, it'll be either flat or... I think it'll be pretty flat from where it is right now, or marginally worse.
Well, my point was, if they don't change the restrictions from these half-assed restrictions, the economy will be much worse.
Yeah.
Because all those businesses that have business owners and employees, they all have fucking money that's now not going into the economy.
I don't think there's any way it continues past like spring.
Restrictions?
Yeah.
You think they'll just open up for summer and then they'll just never come back? We'll say fuck it.
Probably. They're gonna open up for summer and say open season.
I'm optimistic, but I don't think so.
It seems to naturally kind of fade in the summertime anyways.
Yeah.
The virus, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's any fucking public will. I don't think there's any, and you know what else happens when it gets warm outside there, Willows?
What, Tyler?
Protests.
Yeah, well, that's
You know what people aren't doing right now?
Protests?
Fucking marching and and camping outside, the legislature because
it's minus 50.
Right. We're like, we'll deal with that in spring. Like, and this is a real thing. Like, civil unrest follows weather.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Civil unrest follows weather. Always does, always has. When spring comes, they're going to be like, okay, the people are outside again. We got to back the fuck off.
When we were talking yesterday about how Biden's camp knows that they can't do another nationwide lockdown.
Yeah.
Because people have too much time to think.
Yeah.
And too much time to realize the fucking system's fucking them over. And then look at those like worldwide George Floyd protests. Was because they're like, hey, the police kind of suck.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that... like, George Floyd was not a significant event.
That happens every day.
The only thing significant was it was an unusually good video.
Yeah.
And an unusually cruel way of killing someone.
And the timing was perfect.
And the timing was perfect.
Yeah.
But it was like, the odds of that happening again this coming summer is extremely high.
Yeah.
Like, of all the things that you can remember going horribly wrong in 2020 and 2021, all those things that felt like the world was ending was just because everyone's paying attention, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
because
it's going to get exceptionally worse.
When you're familiar with the expression bread and circuses?
Yeah.
When you take away the bread and circuses with lockdowns,
yeah,
now you have civil unrest, right? Like,
so how long till the government like subsidizes Netflix?
Well, they're taxing it more now as of December 1st.
Oh, right, because they're stupid.
Yeah, they're literally dum-dums.
They should literally give it a subsidy.
They're literally dum-dums. Yeah, and this is why I don't like liberals, because the government is so incompetent and so inept. You really think they're going to make our lives better?
I think, regardless of intent, I think that all the mechanisms of government just aren't prepared for, like, that's kind of where I was going in my mind, is the mechanisms just aren't prepared to handle what's coming. Like, when I say what's coming, ominously, I mean, like, I don't want to be that fucking guy. It's like, the globalists are gonna... No, I'm not. No, I'm like, literally... shit's gonna get bad with climate change, and it's gonna be on the level of crisis that COVID creates, at least in people's minds, right? I mean, it doesn't take a lot to freak people out.
And you can't restrict your way out of climate change.
You can't do shit.
Yeah.
You can run away. That's about it.
Perfect.
Um,
Come to Winnipeg, Manitoba. Sunny Winnipeg.
but yeah, like government is basically meant to maintain its stability and like maintain the status quo and just try to keep the peace and whatever. But like when the parameters and the rules and the world and the physical land that you're on is changing so rapidly that like everything that the government is good at doing is no longer relevant tomorrow as it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It's just going to get phenomenally difficult. Like the only thing it's going to be like wartime.
Yeah.
Effectively, like, because the greatest, like, war itself is only violent usually in a very small geographical area, right? Like it's on the front is where the battle is. You know, sometimes there's bombings and stuff like that. At least, you know, the way war used to be.
Previously.
Yeah. It's localized skirmishes, but the realities of war is the impacts that it has on the millions and tens of millions of people around.
Yeah, your supply lines are...
Your supply lines are just the general security.
Factories are switched over.
People being displaced from their homes, entire cities worth of people having to move into other cities and then fucking up those cities and then... and so on, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just... That's the kind... Like, it's basically going to be wartime, and it's going to invite in a very, very... it's going to be a completely unrecognizable political system. Like, it's probably going to be like strongman politics. Probably going to go extremely authoritarian. Because that's going to be the only thing that they can do.
My father was describing COVID as wartime. Like, because he was saying, like, during a war, you do stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You go fight. You go switch your factory from making, you know, cars to making bullets or whatever, right? You go without bread because you're giving all the bread to the soldiers, right? Like stuff like that. And look at how poorly our community has come together to support the wartime effort.
Yeah.
People won't even get a fucking free vaccine to support their country.
Yeah, because it can't kill Nazis.
Like, we're doomed, dude. Like,
I like the experiment in Alaska where a bunch of scientists, after a big natural disaster, went in to see, like it was a big earthquake that just ripped a town apart. They went in to go study how civilization broke down, basically. And what they instead found was, like, by the time they got there, so they basically got on a plane immediately after they found out that it happened. They flew there, you know, within like 16 hours of the event. By the time they got there, everything was stabilized and, like, stuff was getting cleaned up and put back together within 16 hours of the event. And they also found that it had nothing to do with any of the local government or measures that were in place to deal with this type of situation, because by the time that the local authorities had assembled the people that needed to do the work and help out, everything was already dealt with because the community just came together. People just started helping and doing shit. Like, people helped their neighbors. You know, a bunch of people got trapped inside this giant building, and, like, a bunch of volunteers just, like, I guess the cell towers and stuff were out, so they just, this one lady who was on, I think she was a radio host, and she just started using, like, FM radio as the, like, public broadcast system to organize rescue efforts. So people would, like, run to the radio station, they would tell her something, and then she would broadcast over FM, say, hey, if you're a construction worker and you have power tools that can cut through this, we need you over here at this place.
That's cool.
Hey, if you have heavy equipment, head down to, like, the like Cabela's or whatever, because it collapsed and we need heavy equipment to move steel beams. And she, like, they were using FM radio and stuff to deal with all this stuff, and people just fucking mobilized. And it was something like 12 hours after that happened is when, like, the firefighters and paramedics and, like, search and rescue and National Guard and whatever started mobilizing. It was like they were showing up after the fact. Yeah,
which is, yeah, like, I'm always preaching how resilient human beings are.
Well, granted, this is Alaska, where, like, everyone is kind of a little bit more resourceful than us soft, cushy city people.
Folk. But remember, at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a native reserve in the north here that asked for medical assistance, and the Canadian government sent body bags.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that's pretty good.
That is the government's response to community problem. And
That's so fucked up.
yeah, it is like, I don't know how any person with a brain and an education looks at the government and says, this is a competent body, I want to control me. Like, I cannot comprehend.
I think the reserves are gonna have an okay time because they're already used to kind of operating outside that system, and they don't get assistance, they get fucking oppression. Like, that's all they get.
Yeah.
So as you know, one of my good friends, Tyrell, his little brother overdosed over New Year's, and so they're dealing with the wake and the funeral and everything. And I was like, are you sure I can come to the funeral, because the restrictions right now are 25 people?
Yeah.
And he's like, not on the reserve, bud.
Yeah, they make their sovereign.
And I was
nations.
like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. He's like, yeah, come through, whatever.
Yeah, they're sovereign nations, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, man. I don't know. Like, it's yeah. So we get depressing so fast. I'm having a bad week.
This is a Doomer podcast now. It's fine.
Yeah, we don't talk about business anymore.
Because it's depressing. Actually, no, that's not true. The rich keep getting richer, so my business is doing great.
Yeah, you're fucking doing well. I'm fucked.
Yeah, do you see that video I posted on Instagram today of
No, I did not.
me setting the little guys?
Nope.
Getting better with content. Did like a time lapse video of me setting like a bunch of little tiles. Unbelievably expensive floor. Like, would make most people feel a little bit sick. And I'm like,
Well, you said you were in a house they spent $100,000 on curtains.
yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, this is about $35,000 for an area about 3/4 the size of this basement.
Probably like 200 square feet.
280.
280. Look at that easy math in my
Just
head.
floor tile.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Like,
It's fine.
it's crazy. Like, that's the world that I exist in, and it's so weird to be a part of it.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool, but it's really fucking weird at the same time.
That's a good I remember Grant Cardone has a thing where he's sold a house for like, what was it? He sold a house for like way over asking or something like that.
Yeah.
And when he listed it, people were calling him dumb. They're like, you're never going to sell that. And then he sold it to like some billionaire.
Yeah.
And then he was like, don't you think that billionaire overpays for everything?
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, so
Overpaying is like a flex.
yeah. So it's interesting to be in that world like you are, where you're selling, contracting services to people that have too much money.
Yeah.
Right. But that kind of applies to, if we want to make it broader, there's a ton of industries that cater to the top 1% and do very well.
And don't make a dent
What do you mean?
in the 1%.
I know, but
charge
I'm
exorbitant amounts of money, and it's like, and the 1% just gets bigger.
I'm saying as like a business tip.
Yeah, no, I know.
Maybe not. You don't need to focus on selling.
How do I do?
If you need $1 million, don't sell 1 million things for $1.
Yeah.
Maybe try to look at selling, 10 things for $100,000.
Yeah, I'd rather do like 6 projects a year that are 6 figures each.
Yeah.
Much easier to manage than like how many fucking houses would I have to do at $5,000?
I would say
or less.
You can be the cheapest or you can be the best. Products and services that are in the middle are the worst.
Yeah, I wouldn't say cheapest, but I would say like best value.
Sure, but
yeah, at the bottom.
At the bottom, yeah, like yeah. Well, but like products as well, right? Like
you're 100%.
Like I'm in the wine industry.
A lot of your stuff is in the middle. Well, no, you're you're at the top of the bottom.
You were like mid top. Well,
it's very relative.
Very relative, because there's $5,000 bottles of wine.
Yeah,
most of my wine's like $20.
I'm talking about you're the top of the bottom being the 95% of wine that sells.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm the best in that category, not the cheapest.
Yeah, 95% of the wine that sells is like under $30.
It's like 99%.
99%, yeah. So
bottles over $20 are super premium, in quotations, in Manitoba.
Yeah.
That's because, and that's 20 CAD, by the way. So like bottles over like 13 USD are super premium. like 13 to 15 are premium,
Yeah.
like 10 to 13 are like what average, and they're like, yeah, it's, and then like under like 8 is economy,
Yeah.
because we're cheap as fuck here.
Well, yes and no. I mean, without our markups and such. I mean, the actual price, like you can get $2 chucks and stuff.
Yeah, we don't have that here because 90% of the money you pay is taxes. Yeah,
Which
just
is,
like what's gas too, right? Petrol is
yeah,
fucking
true.
90% taxes here.
Right. Even though we make it.
No, we don't anymore. Remember, that's the whole thing. We're like
Yeah.
buying our fucking oil from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you, just to stay on this doomer topic,
Perfect.
Do you want to read the excerpt from the interview today?
I don't have my
From
phone,
the
but
press
I
conference?
recall enough of it.
Right. No, you sent it in the group chat.
Yeah, we had a press conference today where our health ministers,
And the premier.
the premier of our province, the health minister, the head of nursing, and the head of, what does Atwell even do?
I don't fucking know. Takes a salary.
Yeah. They the reporter that I was reading the tweets from, he was like, Atwell seems to be beaming in from a dungeon, because he was like on Zoom, but he was like holding the phone. It was all dark. It was weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, they didn't answer a single question. Pretty much, they're like, what's your ICU beds were like 10 away from being full. What's the contingency plan? And our premier said, well, last time we sent people away to other provinces, and they're like, well, the other provinces are full as well. And she's like, like, these
Beautiful.
are our leaders.
Yeah.
Like, they were asking about like ambulance capacity. They said they don't know. Fucking, they asked Atwell about like projections, and the premier cut him off and didn't let him answer the question, and then didn't answer the question. And then the next reporter up used his question to re-ask the question, and they still fucking didn't answer it. Like, talking about like modeling and fucking people that are actually in the hospital and how much actual capacity we have, because how many beds we have is not our capacity, because we've lost like 60 nurses.
Yeah.
Like, but they're just like, meh. And then they're asking, like, they asked the government if they're following like public health's recommendations, because public health doesn't actually make the policy.
Yeah, they just analyze and advise.
So they gave, and then they're like, are you actually following the recommendations? They just refuse to answer. And then someone asked her later, hey, can you answer that? And she's like, I did answer. And it's like, literally, they're just, and then,
God,
yeah,
she's such a shitty premier.
she's the worst. Yeah.
Like,
no,
she's, like, she couldn't even, like, if you're just gonna take the stance of we're not doing anything, fucking own it. Like, own
us back up, right?
Own the stage. Fucking control the microphone. Have a plan. Do literally anything.
Yeah, and open us back, like
why were they on the press conference anyways?
Well, last week they fucking extended the health orders via tweet.
Yeah, like, why were they on the presser today? Why?
Yeah, if they didn't answer a single question, why?
They didn't make any big statement. They didn't make any changes. Like, why the fuck were they on the conference?
Yeah.
Just,
I don't know.
Just go to your vacation home in Costa Rica
Yeah.
and don't fucking bother us. Like,
Yeah, man, it's a travesty. Like, these are literally the most incompetent people. Not just these people, but every politician is so incompetent, because if they were competent, they'd be working in the private sector.
hot take.
100%.
No, if they were competent, they wouldn't have been elected.
Sure.
Because competent people don't put themselves under that kind of
That's what I mean.
hell.
Like, they'd be in the fucking private sector if they were competent at anything. Like, these people literally don't, not only do they not care, but they don't even understand. Oh, here's a good one as well. Remember how like 3 weeks ago they announced a grant that was like way too little money, but whatever,
Yeah.
to like help businesses? That program came out. They didn't announce it. It's available for application.
They didn't announce
They
it.
did not announce it. I checked. They didn't do a press release. They didn't fucking talk about it at any conference. You know what I think happened? They don't want to pay out the money.
Yeah.
So I applied now. I'm gonna make a status, I think, or I'm in like an entrepreneur Winnipeg group. I'm gonna.
Oh,
talk
dude,
about it,
get on the fucking news again for this one.
man, like
Just start fucking rage tweeting. Be like, they didn't announce this. This is open, and just start tweeting it. Just put out your own fucking press release, dude. Do it. Oh, this will be hilarious.
because
You're gonna be the new premier, Willows.
I don't want to be, because yeah, they like my partner and I were talking the other day. We're like, what happened to that program? Like, when the fuck is that gonna, like, whenever that's gonna come in? And then we Googled it, and it's available for application. And we're like, excuse me? And then I went through, because I'm like, did I miss a tweet or a press release? I went through their fucking press release history. Nope, they never announced it.
Man, that's crazy. And that's, like we talked about, a fraction of what they actually got in federal allocation.
They have $100 million sitting around from the feds.
That was like 3.
Okay, worse, right?
Yeah.
They have hundreds of millions of dollars that they can spend on the pandemic from the federal government that they're just sitting on.
There's I don't know if it's a mayor or it might be a governor in somewhere in the States that's just getting crucified in the media right now because they were allocated a bunch of federal funds and they just were using it to pay off. I don't think it was city. Yeah, it was a mayor. They received a bunch of like federal or state funding, and they were using it to pay down their deficit instead of allocate it towards people that like the funds were intended for.
I'm down.
I like.
You know what? I would rather that than them fucking have it sitting in a bank account right now.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's probably what they intend to do with it.
Oh my god! I am the government.
Who gives a shit about the debt? Rack that shit up. The world's ending. Like,
Yeah.
who do you owe it to? It's fine. Just print more money. Like, it's fucking nonsense. Look at the Fed's balance sheet. Like,
Yeah, even
it's
ours,
nonsensical.
We've printed 50% of our currency in the last 2 years that we've ever printed in Canada's history.
And you know what? Everything's fine.
Kind of. Speak for yourself.
I mean, like, relatively speaking, I mean, what's the consumer price index is the highest since the 80s.
Yeah.
But the stocks keep going up, so it's fine.
Fucking Bitcoin took a little bit of a tumble this week.
Doesn't it always?
Because Kazakhstan shut off their internet.
Oh, right.
And all the miners were just disconnected from the network.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, they like lost an election and they just decided not to leave office or something, and now there's a coup happening.
No. Much worse.
Okay.
They removed price controls on energy, oil.
That's what okay. All right.
And there was such a massive bout of riots that they had to roll out the military and they machine gunned like 100 people down.
Yeah, I saw they were killing like 60 people a day or something.
Yeah, they called in the Russian military.
Oh yeah, and now do you think Russia's gonna have those troops leave ever?
No, they will.
Do you see fucking Ukraine might join NATO
Sidebar.
to like defend against Russia? This is fun. Like,
Yeah, Russia's having a hard week. Yeah, so they sent in troops to help quell the protest, and they were successful at that. I think they really dampened it, but yeah, they shut down the internet so that they couldn't organize.
yeah, which has happened historically in the Arab Spring, like when all the like Egypt and whatever were revolting.
But yeah, it was over fucking oil prices.
Wild.
Because energy was basically like I think they were massively, not only was their price controlled, but they were also subsidized.
Yeah.
But
Are they like left leaning? Kazakhstan's
No.
government?
No,
Why were they subsidizing oil?
because if they didn't, the people would riot.
Wow, I wonder why. Yeah, because they stopped doing it and people started rioting.
Yeah, no, they're kind of beholden to I forget. I obviously Russia for energy, but
Yeah, of course. China probably
o-
too, right?
oil-
China's right there.
yeah, oil prices are just obviously insane.
Yeah.
In that area, actually everywhere right now, especially in those parts of the world, because they don't have the stores and they don't have the financial buffers to deal with it.
Yeah.
They're a lot of those places, like even a lot of European nations, which is why some people are fucking energy poor right now, is because they actually entire nations. Most people don't realize this, are buying oil and natural gas on the spot market.
Yeah. Well, now Germany,
Which is insane.
Germany's like buying all their fucking oil and gas from Russia.
Yeah,
And then-
because they're on the spot market.
And then they just shut down like 8 of their nuclear power plants. So they're more beholden to Russia.
Yeah, right. They shut down nuclear, which, I mean, I'm very pro-nuclear, so...
I'm pro-nuclear as well. And then the same week, fucking China is like, oh yeah, our artificial sun's working pretty well. They had it doing its own fusion for 16 minutes today, or the other day.
Yeah.
Which is at 4 times the temperature of the sun.
Yeah, 23 million degrees.
And if they can, for those of you that don't understand the progression here, if they can make like a sun that does fusion, we just have unlimited energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've successfully done it now.
Rather, China has unlimited energy.
Yes. Somebody who's not us has unlimited energy.
So I love that because I read that press release, and also within an hour, read about a city in New Jersey, or not a city, an area of city of New Jersey, I believe, like a borough, that is just historically been one of the alleys of the worst pollution period. Like, that's where most Agent Orange was produced during the Vietnam War, and all of the byproducts were so bad, they just had like a cancer advisory for the area. You just couldn't drink the water. Like, it was, and the water is still like, it's so incredibly toxic you don't even want to swim in it.
Flint, Michigan?
Worse.
The Red River in Winnipeg, Manitoba?
No, it's much worse.
There's nothing worse than the Red River in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
No, it's much worse.
Okay.
But it's just like this.
Discord.
It's just this section, and it's a black neighborhood, and they just keep dropping all these. So the port is there, where most of the products come into Manhattan or into like New York, all come through this port. So there's like just tons of big truck traffic. There's ship traffic. There is, I think there's like 5 sites of like that have like special authorization of like, oh, you can pollute a fuckload because you produce energy for the state. They're building another fossil fuel, like literally just like gasoline burning power plant.
It's fine.
To be like a backup,
just pour
because
gas into the fucking generator. It's
exactly
fine. That'll work.
But big, and because they
No,
had
just a bunch of small generators.
because power went down for like the water and waste management pump stations.
Yeah.
So a bunch of water got shot off to the city. So they're like, okay, well, we need this like emergency thing set up. So where do they build it? Of course, in this historically polluted black neighborhood. It's like, it's fine. What's one more? What's one more?
What's one more? They already had Agent Orange.
Yeah, exactly. They're fine. They're very resilient. So they're building this new plant, and the governor had specifically said, we're not doing this anymore. And like, they quickly tried to push it under the radar, try to get it approved. You know, that never works.
Of course.
And an hour earlier, I'm listening to China and their fusion reactor, and I'm like,
wow, they have a fusion reactor that just gives unlimited power for like nothing.
And I'm like, New Jersey, United States, right next to one of the richest,
the greatest country in the goddamn world.
Like, this is an hour's like, I don't know my geography that well.
Yeah,
but
it's about an hour's drive from New York City.
Yeah, from like Manhattan, from like the financial center of the world.
Yeah.
An hour away. They're putting up like a diesel plant so that their water doesn't shut off. And across the pond, communist China is like, we made a sun.
We made a sun? Because as far as I don't understand much about nuclear fission.
Greatest nation on earth.
And fusion. But as far as I understand, if you can just get it rolling, it's like just, you can just power everything.
More or less, yeah.
Because like, how does it, I don't even know how this works. It's kind of fucking wild to think about.
It is consuming fuel. Because
nuclear power is fission, right? And then this is fusion, which is different.
Yeah.
It's consuming what kind of fuel?
It will be a radioactive isotope of some sort. Like, it is consuming some amount of fuel, but it's like the output per gram of input is just so astronomical.
Well, there's like, I've read science fiction books that are like, they figure out how to put a generator around the sun.
Yeah.
To like have unlimited energy or whatever.
To capture it, yeah.
Yeah. Because like, yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of sci-fi concepts that have that, like, you know, advanced races manage to capture the energy of their sun, and that's how they, you know, are free to roam the galaxy. It's like, well, no, what if we just make a sun?
Yeah, exactly. So that's cool.
Limitations of fiction.
Yeah.
It's like they're always close.
Yeah. It's like, Yeah, it's funny to you watch like Star Trek and they're still like typing on computers
Yeah.
because like we couldn't comprehend touch screens. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
They have these tiny monitors.
Yeah. Well, it's because it's hard to comprehend something that hasn't been comprehended before. Right?
Yeah.
It's hard to like write about something and you're like, what would this look like in the future? It's hard to just like think of something completely different than what is available right now.
Yeah. Like one of my favorites is their travel. They have this interstellar travel technology, and they can freeze with cryostasis. Like they have all this like biomedical whatever, like all the you know everything you need to travel space and colonize planets, but they all have pagers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's like pre
Yeah.
cell phone.
Yeah.
And they all just have fucking pagers, and they have like radios and pagers, and that's it.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. So we're going to transition here into the part of the show that we call Shot Caller, the part of the show, I said part of the show twice. Fuck! The segment where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we're going to take. Today we're taking a shot of Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey because Tyler said, quote, I want something that'll hurt me. And I'm like, I was going to pick like he hates gin, so I was going to grab some gin or something.
That would have been, yeah,
And then I was
that
like,
would have been good.
you know what? I'm going to do something that hurts you in a different way because I get that like cinnamon nose.
Well, I don't know. I have high spice tolerance, so it doesn't really bother me.
I'll tolerate you.
Thank you for every day you do.
You're welcome, buddy. Thank you, Fireball, for sponsoring this episode.
As a soppy moment.
Starts crying. Oh, it hurt me. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Quebec just introduced a COVID tax. If you don't get vaccinated...
Oh, God, this is a hot topic. Yeah.
If you don't get vaccinated, you have to pay more taxes. You have to pay more income tax and more property tax.
So where the fuck does Quebec lie on the political spectrum? Because I thought they were a lot further right than this.
So
they're really nationalist.
yes. So it's illegal in Quebec to wear a hijab
Yeah.
on like a... No, like you can wear it, but you can't wear it if you work anywhere. You can't wear it at work.
This is like Texas, but French.
Yes.
But more racist.
If that's possible. Yeah,
it is.
So city employees or government employees can't wear Muslim headdress like turbans or hijabs or niqabs. But they're also charging anti-vaxxers. So here's the thing. This is why the right and left is dumb. Right?
Yeah.
Because politics are much more complicated than just you think like, oh, all right people, like just literally right now, I was like, you're like, oh, I thought they were right leaning.
Yeah.
And it's like they are, but they also, I guess, believe in vaccines, right? So, and this premier, Yves, whatever his fucking name is, he doesn't give a fuck. They're like asking him follow-up questions when he announced this, and they're like, this is unconstitutional. He's like, I don't give a shit. he does not care.
Yeah.
He's fucking Quebec, like fucking Trudeau Senior. Like our prime minister's father was prime minister when the FLQ thing was happening, which is the Front de Liberation du Quebec, which was a domestic terrorist organization that bombed the Montreal Stock Exchange, and then they also kidnapped and murdered a cabinet minister and his daughter, I believe.
Pretty cool.
In the 70s. Anyway, but during that time, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, our prime minister at the time, activated the Wartime Act and declared martial law, which you can't really do.
Right.
And as he's walking out of Parliament, there was like some reporters like, you can't do that. And he looked at the camera and said, just watch me.
Yeah, famous.
And it's a famous Canadian moment. Yeah, these fucking Quebecers don't give a fuck. Like, they're just like, yeah. So, the premier's like, yeah, fuck them. Like, I'm going to charge them more. It's like, you can't. He's like, oh, I just did. So
how do you feel about this?
So I have two schools of thought. The pro-vaccination part of me is I laughed initially.
Yeah.
Because I think it's funny. Fuck them.
And then you're like, wait.
So, slippery. You know how we love a good slippery slope argument here.
Yeah, so I want to preface this with the fact that Willows and I have come full circle in politics.
We're communists now.
That wouldn't be a full circle.
I'm a fascist now.
You were fascist, then you became communist, and you're fascist once more.
Yes.
Anyways.
I think the best political system is fascism, but I'm the dictator.
Literally. That's everyone that believes in fascism.
Oh, yeah.
I think what we talk about a lot more now is trying to create a space in your mind where you can be empathetic, because I think that's really the hard thing to do right now, where you can fully empathize and understand the other side, which is incredibly difficult because they live in an entirely different ecosystem of truth. Like, they have a different truth than your truth. Their reality, it does not match your literal physical reality.
They are insane people. And
they are not.
I'm the only smart one.
Sure. So I'm doing this. Willows is doing something else entirely. But the idea is, what is done even to people that are anti-vax, anti-mask, whatever, anti-lockdown, whatever. This is the fucking hill they're gonna die on. They will storm the Capitol to stop it. What if that was your, like, I think we talked about this, 1 or 2 episodes ago, like, what would be your breaking point? Let's say these people, they've met theirs. Yeah. Let's say it was yours. How would you want everyone else to react? Would it be to disregard you and say, oh, it's just those people, they're crazy? Yeah. Of course. Like, that... Well, they're objectively wrong, though, so... They are objectively wrong, but that doesn't super matter, because the government doesn't fucking care if they're right or wrong. I understand what you mean. They just exercise power. For example, like, I'm trying to think of, like, an example. Like, if they banned something I really like. What do I like? Masturbating. Like, they made masturbating illegal. And I'm like... I'd like to see that enforcement squad. Yeah. The jerk police. And they're like, you beat off, we beat you. Oh god, we're making a shirt that's the beat police, dude. Fucking, you walk in a beat. You know how many shirts we could do if we had a fucking bigger audience? A audience? 8 unique listeners. Thank you guys. That's like this. That's every chair in this room filled. Yeah, and then a few on the floor. That's what I'm saying. Wouldn't that be cool? So they banned masturbating, and I'm like, but I want to jerk it. And everyone's like, you're a fucking idiot. Just don't jerk it. And I'm like, no. Just don't do it. Fuck off. And your hand is like trembling and it's like going closer to your fly, and you like grab it with your other hand, but you can't overpower yourself because your right hand is so much stronger because it does all the jerking. And they're like, you're a fucking idiot. Yeah. Like, listen to science, jerking off. You degenerate, yeah. And I'm like, fuck off. I don't believe that. Like, yeah, I empathize. You can't be gay. That's immoral. It's illegal. It's wrong. Yeah. It's inhuman. Yeah. Go to jail. Yeah. I empathize with the other side. You have to. Otherwise, we're sociopaths. No. Otherwise, you're fucking helping nail your own coffin shut. We're also, this is a business podcast after all. We're also bad at business if you don't see the other side. If you live in your little echo chamber, 100%, you're not going to be able to. You got to appeal to a wide audience. This is a fucking. Not even appeal to a wide audience. If you don't have the ability to be empathetic, you're going to be you're in dire straits. Like, because it's hard enough to find good qualified people that want to do the work that you want to do for the amount of money that you want to pay them, and for you specifically as a person. Like, that is a small ass Venn diagram, and if you're going to eliminate take away empathy out of that, you're going to eliminate half of them because they don't fucking agree with you about some nuanced thing that doesn't actually even impact your day to day. Yeah. Like, and sure, maybe you can work with it, you just don't talk about it, avoid the topic, but there's never going to be intimacy between you and that person. Well, you know what I said, and I'll stand by this? The people that are making not getting vaccinated their personality, and that are constantly posting fucking memes about the jabbed and all that shit, I will not hire those people. That's fair, because those are that is combative behavior. Yes.
which is they're not going to be good employees.
Yeah, that's antagonistic, that's combative. Like, we don't even do that. We talk shit all day on this podcast, but, like, I won't post. I do not shit post on my social media.
Okay,
because
I do definitely, but...
No, you don't shit post. You say, like, relevant stuff. You might troll a little bit, but you don't, like, shit post liberal stuff. You don't shit post right-wing stuff or, like, capitalist stuff.
Yeah, I don't really like...
Well, you don't say antagonistic stuff that you know is going to piss people off.
Sometimes I do.
But,
like, the other day where I said...
give an example.
The other... I posted that... young rappers buying expensive gold chain is fiscally responsible, and you are a dick and an idiot if you say that's not true. Okay, I knew that was gonna piss some people off.
Okay, but that's not like, you're not saying something politically sensitive though.
Well, yeah, because politics don't matter.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, anyone
who cares about politics has lost the plot. Politics was invented to distract us from, like, human issues.
It's to create an illusion of power and control.
Because you're just gonna, like, do you see fucking Michelle Obama tweeted the other day? She's like, for the midterms, you got to get out and vote, and everyone's retweeting it like we just did that. We voted a fucking Democrat in. Like, yeah, it's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, dude, I hope we see America fall in our lifetime.
So let's get back to predictions, because we only scratched the surface on that.
True. Okay, let's skip. I think we've concluded fiscally, and let's take this a shot.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a shot for this one.
So we're doing the famous Old Smoky Tennessee Mango Habanero whiskey,
aka Who Hurt You whiskey.
If you listen to this podcast, you know about this whiskey. It's fine.
Yeah, go get it.
I'll be homeless still buying this.
Fuck yeah. It's not cheap.
It's not bad. It's like $35, I think.
So predictions for
2021. Wait, 2023. Wait. What year is it? Dude, I fucking blinked and I'm like 26 years old next month.
I know. It's fucked. You're like almost age to be competent. Like almost
shit.
Like not kidding, like almost every super successful entrepreneur that I know, and I'm gonna just exclusively say the ones that are under the age of 35, that, you know, at that point are millionaires driving Lambos, whatever, have a very consistent story of, I didn't wake up till I was 27.
Oh God, thank you.
I didn't wake up till I was 28. Like,
do you ever...
no, like literally was just like a bar star working a shit job.
Yeah.
Till they were 28 and like millionaire by 35.
I forget where I heard this, but I just heard this on a podcast. Do you ever Google a celebrity's age, if they're like around your age, and then they're younger than you, and you're like, oh, I have nothing. I don't have my shit together. Like,
right.
Like Tom Holland was born in 1997.
Right. That's the first person that came to mind. I'm like, funny. Oh, Tom Holland.
Yeah, that's funny. Or I do that with
he's sexy as fuck. So
I do that with rappers all the time, right?
Yeah.
Sidebar: do you see Kodak Black fucking in the Florida Panthers box?
No.
He has a box, I guess.
Yeah, of course he does.
There's and then they zoom in. He's fucking a chick. Anyway,
I'm assuming not like the Telecaster. It was like someone with their phone.
No, I think it was the Telecaster.
Even better.
Google the clip. Anyway, but rappers, I do that all the time. Where I Google, I'm like, oh God, this person was born in like 2003.
Yeah.
Like, I am broke as fuck, and I have nothing together.
I would disagree, but like the way this is a lot more.
I thought I'd be a billionaire by now. When I was like 14.
Yeah, I fully get that. Like,
I'm a failure. I might kill myself. I'm not. I know you're laughing, but I'm going to shoot myself.
Okay.
Tonight.
Sure.
If I don't make $1 billion.
I'll make sure the gun's loaded. I think it's a lot more interesting. I shouldn't say a lot more interesting. It's a lot different when you're like, I live with my girlfriend, and
I live with a constant state of fear and misery.
Very similar.
Oh, got him!
Okay, Willows. She doesn't listen to this podcast.
I was gonna say, good thing your girlfriend doesn't give a fuck about the art that you're creating here.
Yeah, it's better that way. But
I can't start. I'm sorry. That's such an old meme, but I can't get it
it's
out
so
of my head.
good though. Every day at work, it happens.
It's a pretty good meme. The other thing I can't get out of my head right now. Goblins are real. No more context. Just go.
So she turns to me the other day and she's like, do you ever just wish that like your future was now? And I'm like, literally all the time. I'm like, what do you think I stare at the road thinking about? The fact that I wish I could just like skip this entire process and just like be there.
You can't cheat the process, though.
Well, yeah,
You
they're
can't
like,
cheat the hustle, right?
and she's like, yeah, I know. Like this is, we're gonna look back and treasure these experiences too. But it doesn't mean you don't spend a lot of time thinking and wishing that tomorrow could be now.
Of
like,
course. So yeah, I literally said that today. I'm like, don't, because I had a stressful day. I'm having some domestic issues. Let's say. It's a whole thing. I might lose the lease
for the English people, he's having a domestic does not mean he just beat his wife.
No,
No, this is different.
I'm having roommate issues.
Yeah, he just beat his roommate.
Yeah, perfect.
She's very small. It was a one-sided
She
battle.
would probably
She would kick your ass.
She would
for
kick
sure.
my ass probably. Yeah. But no, we're on good terms. It's just she might be moving somewhere else, and I might lose this house that I really like.
No, you will not.
Okay, I'll figure it out. But that happened today, so
So you're
I've
gonna
been... Stop. So I've been stressed about that today, and then we had the press conference that was like that. Literally, our premier's like, "Oh yeah, you're fucking on your own."
And then you check the group chat.
And then I checked the group chat, and JL's talking about how we're gonna run out of fucking vegetables and shit. And it's just like
2037, there's gonna be no more food.
Yeah, so I'm just like not having a good mental health day.
Thanks, JL.
No, it's fine.
We should probably check in on him.
We should probably check. I called him twice today. But anyway, what was I saying? Where was I going with that? I was trying to preface.
Oh, talk about how you want tomorrow to be today.
Oh yeah. So literally today, I was saying how after this is all done, like after COVID's done, after all that shit, all this shit is resolved, I'm gonna look back at these times and be like, wow, fuck that guy. No, I'm gonna, it's like we'll probably laugh that we were so stressed out.
Yeah, at this point I've been through such a variety of life. Like even talking to people that are 10 years my senior, I've gotten an incredible wealth of life experience that most people never see.
I'd say so for myself as well.
And I am relatively unfazed, like almost all the time. Like even with all this, like we're doomers in a lot of ways, but at the same time I feel very confident about my ability to deal with it. Because I immediately just flip into problem solving mode and like, okay, how would I do this? How would I do that? And like the more acute the crisis, the more you can do. When it's like when it's far out,
it's all hypothetical. You can't make any changes, right?
When it's far out and abstract, like whatever. But I mean, if shit was happening in a really really fast way, I already have an idea of what I would do and how I'd handle it, and like I think I still think I'm extremely unprepared for any crisis that comes.
So
but I think I've thought about it more than the average person.
The average person is thinking about where they're going to get drunk this weekend.
Right, or just thinking about how bad things are going to get and listening to the news and like hoping someone will fix it. I have zero faith in anything getting fixed.
My problem is, and I guess I'm going to have to take my own advice here.
Yeah.
My problem is like these restrictions and whatever, they're just making it hard for me to go about my regular business and not care. Right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, you can't ignore it. You can't be a bystander.
Yeah, but this is what I tell other people. Suck it up. Like, that's the world. Life isn't fair.
Yep.
And you need to, if your business can't survive, stuff like this, well, you just lost. It's capitalism. It's the free market. And the government will throw wrenches at you.
There's literally more capital out there today than there ever has been.
Yeah, if you can dodge,
Those money printers go.
if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge provincial government restrictions.
God, did you see that?
Yeah, TikTok,
Uh,
yeah.
it's fine. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Like it's hard to take my own advice on that because it's this is something that I've worked so hard on, my business, like in the last 6 years of my life.
You've had an extremely narrow focus for quite a long period of time.
Under the auspices that around this time, around like I'm about to go in my 5th year next month, I would be like having a good paycheck, having employees do the shit I don't like to do.
Yeah.
Which I was until fucking COVID. Now I've had to lay off my staff and I fucking pay myself back to $500 a month.
Yeah.
Like,
monkey wrench.
Yeah. And it's just but the problem is last time we were in a position like this, and this is why I tell people all the time, suck it up and work harder. Like, I always tell conservatives that are like, oh, if you fucking give welfare to fucking people, no one wants to work. You know what I say to that? Do the work yourself then, dick fuck. Don't go home at 6 p.m. Stay till midnight. I don't give a fuck. I used to fucking work until we were on call for delivery until midnight. And then we would bottle from midnight to 6 a.m. and then go back to work.
Yeah, it was very difficult to be your friend. Like, the reason I was always at your winery is because
That's
like
where we were.
That was the only way to spend time with you, is to like, oh, you want to hang out? Come bottle with us. I'm like,
Yeah.
Fuck it, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'll get drunk and pour wine in bottles. That sounds like fun.
Yeah,
Like,
but
what else are we gonna do? Sit around and watch TV?
And like literally, and you like I'm notoriously exaggerative when I tell any story, but you were there. Like,
All the time.
You remember this. Like we put in the hours.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people, that when they're like, I see it a lot in the restaurant industry because it's shit conditions and they pay shit. And I see these restaurant owners bitching on Facebook being like, well, I can't fucking hire people since CERB came around paying people to stay home.
CERB's gone.
Well, number one that, but I mean like when it was happening.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well then jump in the fucking kitchen. Do it.
But I
Like,
can't cook.
I have fucking learn.
Yeah.
You shouldn't run a restaurant then. Fuck you. Like,
If you can't be the baddest motherfucker in that kitchen,
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't own that restaurant.
dude, these fucking people, some of these goddamn
I'm a purist in that way.
I
Like, capital, in my opinion, capital is not all it takes to be a competent or good business owner. Like, my old boss was always like, money, people, deal was his thing. Was like, if I can organize the money, if I can hire the right people.
You have to have 2 of 3 to get the third, or you have to have 1 of the 3 to get. You have to have 1 of the 3 things: people, money, deal.
Yeah.
And then you can outsource the other 2 if you have 1.
Or you can outsource all 3, but you need all 3.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, man. I don't like even like my friends in the industry.
But sorry, I want to finish my thought. So you can outsource all 3 technically to make a business transaction happen, and maybe at high level certain things that works. But when you're day to day running something like a restaurant, which is, the deal is not good, the money's not good, the people suffer, like, all that shit is in a very tenuous place, and it only survives because it has momentum, because it has like an economy and a pool of people that it pulls from that are just like used to this condition, whatever. So as soon as you disrupt that and people wake up to what's fucking happening,
Which, like, what happened with restaurants shutting down. And
yeah, people are like, oh my god, I'm not, like, this is the same reason that I completely changed industries and jobs too. I went from, being a high performer in terms of like communications and management and working an insane amount of hours and just running I enjoyed running my brain at full throttle so much for no money. Like, I just fucked myself, and it was stupid.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I was forced to slow down, I was like, I don't actually enjoy that.
Yeah.
I like the satisfaction of performing, but I don't like that.
That's me having sex.
I don't like being exploited. Right.
Wait.
Maybe I do.
Maybe I do.
But only wait.
Anyway, just power through.
Very gross, Willows.
What?
I think people get really fucking lost in how they run their businesses because they get you get it in your head that you're owed because you've done so much, or you're owed this money, or you're owed this loyalty because you've come this far. You've established yourself. You have the brand. I've been doing this for 30 years. Respect me.
You're only as funky as your last cut. So they say in the music industry.
Yeah.
Like, you're only as good as the last song you put out. You're only as good as the last business move you made. You ever fucking hang around these people that are still talking about the football game they won in high school?
Yes, but only when we're really drunk and we've run out of things to talk about.
Sure, but it's like, what did you do yesterday?
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck what you did in high school.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what a lot of these fucking entitled owners are, is like, well, I was fucking in the kitchen for 10 years and now I don't have to be. It's like, well, shit's changed,
now you do.
buddy. Shit's changed, buddy. Like,
you didn't have to be, but now you do have to be. So.
And rolling with the punches and being able to be adaptable is one of the biggest skills as an entrepreneur.
And I bet you, if he went in, if that restaurant owner went in that kitchen, was grinding it out, and instead of being bitter about it and getting mad at the people getting government subsidies, that, like, saying CERB is the reason that I am miserable and I have to work hard, and I'm so fucking pissed and sad and upset because I have to do the jobs that I want other people to do, so that I don't have to do them and I can profit on their labor.
Yeah.
Like, the arrogance.
Yeah. So
if this guy went, this proverbial restaurant owner went in the back of his kitchen and just fucking washed dishes, worked on the line, worked as sous chef,
do
whatever.
It for 12 hours a day.
Do it. No, they don't do it for 12. They do it for 18.
Yeah,
like,
do it
for 18 hours a day. Understand how shit it is.
Yeah.
And then with that humility, go back to each of the employees that don't want to come back to you anymore. Sit them down and be like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not going to be an asshole about it. Like, you know what? Just come for a drink. Let me make you some food. Let's talk. Let's see how you're doing. And just, like, sit down with them and be like, you know what? I know how hard this job is, and I'm busting my ass, and I know it was really difficult. Like, man, how's it been for you? Tell me about, like, how have you been feeling? Have you been reading books more? Are you going out for walks? Are you enjoying your life more? Have you been looking at their careers? Like, just sit down, have a humble conversation with this person. Be like, you know what? You love food. I love food. I love this restaurant. We liked this once, didn't we?
It's an Arby's.
Exactly. It's fucking Arby's. Way to take the wind out of my sails. And just have a conversation with them and say, you know what? We actually do both want you to work here. You want to work here. I want you to work here. But you needed to work within these parameters. So how can we make this... How can we both get something out of this? And come to some kind of agreement. And it's not going to work 100% of the time. But it's going to work a fuck of a lot better than going on Fox News and bitching about EI.
Welfare. Yeah.
Like that... And you know what? Every single one... Like, when they... When they do both sides interviews, as you always should, of interview the business owner, interview the staff member of the same place, and being like, okay, why aren't your people working? Oh, it's fucking welfare. Oh, why aren't you working there? Oh, it's hell. Look at the oil. look at the burns from oil scars on my shins, and also I had bags under my eyes for 7 years. Like, if you take both of those perspectives,
are we weird? Like,
yes,
obviously, but like, are we just capable of being like, yeah, I'm just gonna work 18 hours and figure it out? Like, are normal people not capable of that?
No. People get offended when I work that late.
So
this happened yesterday. I was working till 9 p.m. yesterday. I went into someone's house and they're like, oh, we're so sorry for keeping you. And I'm like, I knew what I was getting. Like, I literally signed up for this. Like, I voluntarily showed up at your house and I'm working till 9 p.m. And they're like, well, it's it's rough on the home life. And I'm like, my girlfriend's teaching dance. Like, she's not getting home for like another hour, so it's fine. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like upstairs watching Netflix.
Well, even my friends in my industry, I won't say any names, but he owns a liquor manufacturer here and then has a bar as well. And he was talking about how, like, a couple of his people were out with COVID or whatever, and it was like, there's like, oh, I'm just gonna shut down. And I'm like,
why?
Well, for like for the weekend or whatever, right?
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, why don't you just bartend yourself? And he's like, well, like, what, after 6 p.m.?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm like, what? Like, yeah, like, yeah, but he's like, I have kids, and like, I'm like, they can't fucking. Your
But-
kids are 14 and 12. They can't fucking like
Bring the kids to the bar.
get their
fuck.
own food. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. Like, but like, yeah. And then I had like, I remember there was a brewery owner that was like basically said like, well, I can't be expected to be there every day.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, you can't.
Yes,
Like,
you can.
But like, so
That's-
are we just like cut different, built different? Like, is that just, or like, what are these?
I just think that I'm
So
not. I
here-
just think that I'm not owed shit.
Here's I've come full circle, maybe not full circle, but like I've really changed my mentality. I used to, when I was 16, probably 16 to 18, when I was like hanging out with kids that were doing multi-level marketing companies and I was like starting to get interested in business, I really had the mentality that like, if you like, these people are fucking dumb and lazy, why aren't they caring about their future?
Mm-hmm.
They're content just fucking working a McDonald's job the rest of their lives and fucking like, these are losers. And now when I actually started a business and I have a more nuanced kind of view of people, when I actually got out into the world, like it's one thing to have, I grew up in a fucking white,
Yeah, you're
middle-class neighborhood, right?
indoctrinated by Gary Vee on YouTube.
yeah, literally. And now I'm getting, as I got a little bit older, I really, what I want out of life isn't what other people want out of life.
Yeah.
And that's not only is that fine, but that's good.
Yeah.
Like, people have the fucking right to do whatever they want, and they can work a shitty job, and maybe they don't think it's shitty. I think it's shitty. Maybe
Yeah.
they don't. Like, I have gotten much less judgy with people.
Man, when I talk to my workers and they tell me about, like, I'm like, what are your aspirations? What are your goals? Like, what are you trying to do in the next 5 years? Like, not in those explicit terms, but just, talk about people, what are their wants and desires and values. And I'm like, what? You're a lot closer to reaching all of your goals and being content. You're way closer to that than I am.
So,
And it's like you,
yeah. Isn't that ironic? When,
Like-
if your goals are like, I don't want to say like, because I'm not trying to disparage anyone.
no.
I was gonna
not saying that my goals are better than your
Yeah,
goals.
not saying that your goals are, but maybe more unrealistic, right? My goals are more unrealistic than the average person. But what I was going to say is, so the average person, I understand that they don't have like aspirations. They don't want to, and maybe can't just work 18 hours a fucking day, bottle delivery, sales. Like they can't just do that.
It's
right?
just not fucking necessary.
Sure, but if you have the fucking audacity to think you deserve to be an entrepreneur and a business owner, shut the fuck up. Like, you shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear fucking me complaining for fucking the entire beginning of the
It's just
podcast.
literally
Well, and that's
we
why
record our complaining every week.
I started this rant by saying it's hard for me to take my own advice, but I need to do it because I'm pissed off that the government is shutting me down again and, keeping me restricted and whatever. But shut the fuck up. Like, did I think this was going to be easy when I got into it? I don't know. But
Just yeah. Also,
I'll
it's
figure
fine.
it out.
It's fine to be upset.
and this is how I do business is
Angrily.
no, I'll figure it out. I saw on a TikTok, they were like, he's like, I tell my employees they're allowed to be mad about something for 15 minutes.
Right.
If a decision happens and you don't agree with it, you're allowed to fucking rant and rave and yell and you're allowed to be mad. But after that, we calm down and let's sit down and figure out a solution. Because saying to people like, don't be mad at the fucking restrictions, it happens, like, it's like I'm still pissed off,
Yeah.
but that's not productive.
Be mad, then deal with it.
That's
That's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah, it's not. But stopping us from by being like, oh, you're just entitled if you're fucking pissed off. It's like that's not healthy. Like you're feeling an emotion. I'm feeling frustrated. It's not healthy to, ignore that emotion. But at the same time, it's not. That's emotion isn't productive.
Yeah.
It's not going to help my business.
Yeah, I think that's very much my training style. So today we're doing a floor that was like a lot of finesse required. Like you can't just say, here's the rules and follow them. Like it's a lot of... This is probably the most reliant on the human being type of installation that we do. And I'm just getting the reputation just among our crew of being like the guy that doesn't let fucking anything go. Like, I catch all the mistakes, even from my business partner. Like, I catch his shit all the time, and I'm like, I really try not to be smug about it, but it's really hard.
It's your business partner that's always the worst.
Yeah, no, he's way
Mine
more.
is. Wait.
Right, he's way more experienced than me, so it's hard not to be smug about it. But I mean, just that's what you do. You catch other people's mistakes more than you catch your own, right?
Yeah, of course.
But I'm getting this kind of system. I don't know if they recognize that they're really smart. They see me, they understand my patterns, they see what's going on. But basically, like, I create a situation where the emotional response is pretty high. Like, I used to be very non-confrontational. Now I'm very quick to have a confrontation about something.
Yeah, you keep hitting me.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, I'm not emotional about stuff. I don't get mad about stuff. I don't berate people. I don't criticize. I don't humiliate. But what I will do is I'll fucking catch you doing something wrong. I'll point it out, create that moment of like, oh fuck, I'm doing something. Like, you create that little bit of panic. You know, for example, we're like setting a bunch of rows of these little tiles, and I'm like, okay, how's it going? They're like, okay, it's good. Yeah, whatever. Lines are straight. Tiles are flat. Grout lines are good, boss. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's keep you honest. I go grab my 8-foot level. I lay it across the row, and I'm like, you're bumping out in the middle.
Yeah.
It's out of alignment. And they're like, oh. Like, I thought it looked good. I'm like, you can't trust your eyes on this one. You know that. It's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, keeping you honest. I'm like, keep this here. Keep yourself honest. And then I walked away. I didn't check on him for another hour. Like, but I was very much in the zone. I was listening to an audiobook. I'm like, I didn't want to fucking deal with anything else outside of my space. I'm like, I just want to get my work done and get on with it. I'm like, you know what? No. Last time you did that, an entire section got done fucking wrong, and then you had to deal with it the next day, and it was awful. Get up, go face the issue, create that acute situation where you're creating stress, because that is how people grow. Like, this is why the military works so well. This is why people respect their superiors. When I say superiors, I don't just mean like in the fucking totem pole. I mean like you're superior in terms of a person that you're learning from, or a person you take advice from, or a person you look up to. Like, because that person keeps you honest and teaches you and, you know, pushes you. If someone doesn't push you and you can fuck up and they don't challenge you, you don't respect them.
Yeah.
That's just how people work.
Yeah.
So I think, where the fuck were we going with this?
I literally have no idea.
It doesn't really matter. No, we were talking about people just being shitty leaders. And
every time I edit these podcasts, I'm like, how do you not remember what happened 5 minutes ago?
I know, it's the fucking worst. I hate it when I'm listening to podcasts and this happens.
It's fine. And then you're like screaming at the fucking screen.
Yeah.
You idiots.
Don't go in that door.
Yeah. Wait. I have a story, or I have a question, and it will lead into our last segment here. So our last segment of the show we call Business Tip. I think I've condensed it now to just tip of the week. Top of the morning. Shit.
Why do you keep...
Dude, I don't know.
He checks his pulse every time he does that.
No, you're supposed to. That's part of the meme. Shit.
Is it?
Yeah. Anyway, but I think it's just tip of the week now, because we also give life tips. It was business tip.
Everything is business tip. If you're a business owner, everything is business tip.
We're going to transition here into the segment that we formerly called Business Tip of the Week. Anyway.
Tip of the week.
And I'm going to start it off with a question /story /question. DoorDash. What do you think? Just kidding. So DoorDash, the food...
I have many opinions.
The food delivery company.
Yeah.
Now they used to have this when they were a startup. They got rid of it, and they're bringing it back now. Is the policy, I forget what it's called. It's like everyone dashes or something. Every single employee has to do one delivery minimum a month.
Okay.
Including the CEO.
Right.
Including everybody in marketing.
Right.
including all the programmers. Every single employee in the entire organization, there's people making, $1.5 million a year in executive C-suites. They have to go drive a fucking delivery. The board is bringing this program back, and like the fucking C-suites are like fighting it.
Right.
Because they don't want to fucking drive these.
They don't want to degrade themselves.
Yeah. So
fucking suck it up.
So I figured that was going to be your opinion, but I want to kind of just to get it out of the way. My tip is I think that's a very good practice.
That's why people love Undercover Boss.
Just because I run a startup, so I have to do all the parts myself.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty confident that I could every single part of my business I can do not only competently but well. And no, I could, yeah, I just can. And I think people should have, startups are different than obviously a company that has a DoorDash.
Yeah.
When you get, when I have 6 employees, it makes sense for me to know everything that's going on and be able to do everything. It doesn't make sense for the CTO of DoorDash to know how delivery works necessarily, right? Like in a big picture kind of thing.
I feel like the accountants are probably the most mad about everything than everybody else, because they're like, we also have a grinding job and nobody has to do this one.
So fair. But so my tip of the week is, I think every business owner, if you're not going to do it every month, put yourself in the shoes of every kind of department in your organization and know how because you're not going to be able to make decisions. This is why the government sucks, is because they've never run a business in their goddamn lives.
Or they've never had to fulfill any of the services that they
are regulating.
Yeah.
Right? I think I said this
or use any of the services that they regulate.
Our fucking city council was cutting public transit spending, and they all fucking have car services to work.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the only counselor that takes the bus to work is the blind one. Because he can't drive.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but all of them fucking drive their cars to work. They park in the underground fucking parking.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I think every single person that's listening should spend a little bit of time doing the low level stuff, and it's not demeaning. Fuck off. That's my tip. But so we go into the DoorDash thing. What do you think about C-suite executives being forced to do a delivery?
1,000% yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it gives you a really good perspective of the company that you're fucking running. Just like I said with the government. It's I think if you want to get a job as a liquor regulator, you should have to fucking work in the industry for a month.
Yeah. And the way that I am handling this exact thing, and I think it's especially relevant if your business is actually reliant on some degree of skill and talent, which I mean,
most businesses aren't.
I hate to say a lot of them aren't. A lot of them are doing things that people don't want to do, and maybe you have a niche of something. There's some businesses where there's specifically a high degree of skill that's required. Maybe you build cars, or you make liquor, I guess.
Wow.
There's a lot of businesses where okay, so I'm going to say on the generics, you sell insurance.
Sure.
That's, whether you're the guy at the front desk or not, is probably not massively consequential, although it's probably still a great practice, because that's your primary source of income, is that interaction.
Is the customers that are buying the insurance.
Right. So this is relevant across the board, but it's not necessary for success, I should say. Because the bar is not going to be set super high, because that insurance is a product that's going to be needed and delivered and paid for kind of regardless of what happens at the point of sale.
Yeah.
But for my business, for example, if the quality and the process is not exemplary,
if you as the boss,
it falls apart.
If you as the boss didn't know
more,
couldn't pick out that fucking tile was a little bit off in the middle, like you were just saying,
yeah,
then it would have just gone unnoticed.
So if it went unnoticed with him, and then he trains someone, that guy does something that he doesn't notice. Yep. Now you have a multiplier.
When you were starting this tile business, say I happen to have $100,000 to invest or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, Willows, can you invest? I'll give you a fucking part of the business. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then one day you're on COVID lockdown and I'm supervising. And they're like, is this fine? I'm like, yeah, it looks fine to me. Like, I would be the boss that didn't know anything about the industry that I'm working in.
Yeah, and
right?
Yeah.
So
what I've told my guys and my business partner is that regardless of how big this business gets, I aim to always be the best installer in the company. Period. Like I will come out of a meeting with my fucking suit on, whatever that may be. I probably will never wear a suit to a meeting again if I don't have to.
I wear suits to like shit I shouldn't wear suits to.
Yeah, for you, great. Me, it's a turnoff. In our business, it's a red flag.
Fair.
So, I'll come out of a meeting in my nice clothes, and I will not even change my fucking clothes. I will get them dirty. I don't care. Because, fuck it, it's worth it. Like, I will jump into a project, and I will show whoever's in charge that I'm still marginally better. And if I'm not...
Time to eat the rich.
If I'm not, it's time to put my fucking briefcase away and grind it out and get in touch with my business again. Because if I'm out of touch with...
You're not making good C-level decisions if you're out of touch with how your business functions.
Right. Now, exactly, because I'm out of touch with the ground level workings. Like, I don't have to do it all the time. I don't have to be there all the time. I don't have to know everything.
One delivery a fucking month, 15 minutes out of your goddamn life a month.
Exactly. Exactly.
And these people are fucking up in arms about
It's
it. Fuck off.
It's such a low bar.
Fuck off.
It's such a low bar.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They're like, oh, it's degrading. It's like, no, it's grounding is what it is.
I agree.
It's fucking grounding. And it connects everyone to this. To the delivery of the service that you're all making money on.
If you honestly think it's degrading, how could you possibly manage people doing that job if you think it's degrading to do that job? How fucking fucked up is that?
Here's a fun fact for you, Willows.
Okay, Tyler.
Most people hate their bosses.
Wow, really? I've never had one,
because
so.
They feel that way. Those bosses think that the people working for them are de facto below them and lesser human beings because they're doing the shit jobs that I don't have to do anymore because I'm a manager and now I get paid to tell you what to do. So you're lesser than me.
Here's my thing is that there's a lot of jobs in my business I don't want to do, but I don't think they're not necessary or they're degrading. I don't think someone who does fucking bottling.
No, you pay somebody to do that and you're like, thank you.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, that's with my bottling. It's like I fucking hate bottling, but it needs to get done.
You can think low of the job without thinking low of the person that does it.
Of course not.
You can just be fucking grateful. It's not hard.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Which I am. Like, and I guess it's the same idea with fucking minimum wage was meant for teenagers. It's not meant to support you. And then they're like, why is my fucking Big Mac taking so long? Because they're understaffed.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. You can't, yeah. Anyway, do you have a business tip of the, tip of the week?
A tip of the week. Tip of the week.
Tip of the morning.
I think... Thank you, Willis. I think that finding a balance in between being a doomer, looking out at the world. When I say being a doomer, I mean paying attention.
Oof.
Yeah, unfortunately. But also at the same time, kind of like you were saying, being grounded with the facts of life. And even though the world is ending, you know what? When the world is ending, let's say it's like officially ending. Like there's an event that's happening and we're going to all fucking die.
Futurama, they sent all the garbage to the moon and now the moon's going to
crash into the
earth.
Yeah, sure. There's a moment like that. You know what I want to be doing at that moment? Probably be like sitting around a campfire with my friends, drinking a beer, talking about life.
I want to be jerking off.
Like, or maybe cooked out of my mind on mushrooms. Like,
yeah, I'll probably do a lot of drugs, right?
Like, it's some version of that.
We'll finally have that orgy we're always talking about.
Right. So
you can maybe we'll invite the girlfriends.
So some version of that is
you should see his face right now.
Really red. It's as red as this Tennessee mango whiskey. It's not. It's not red at all. Think about when shit's really bad, you know, for us, it can be easier to understand. It's like, let's say there's a really bad blizzard, everyone's locked in. Who do you want to be stuck in that house with? You know, maybe you're never getting out alive again. What would you do? Like, if you think about it in those terms, it's like, you know what? As bad as things could possibly get, you don't really need to panic that much. Like, the panic is often worse than the circumstance.
Yeah.
Period.
It's like when they fucking all the people trampling each other in Black Friday sales and dying.
Yeah.
But it's like, you could have got the TV. Just fucking calm down. Like,
yeah, it's like, I think people like us that pay attention to everything, or people that have a high degree of intelligence and are constantly trying to understand things and fix them, that they're far more miserable than the people that just understand that shit's fucked and they can't do anything about it. The guy that's super smart and thinks he can fix it is way worse off than the guy that is less intelligent but understands that he can't fix it. He's way smarter than the fucking intelligent guy.
It's God's plan.
Right, exactly. That's a great way to put it. So...
And she hasn't led me astray yet. God.
She? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
They?
Ooh, that's spicy.
Should I just start
Yes. Yes, you should.
using gender-neutral pronouns for when referring to God?
Okay, so business idea.
Okay.
We start a, like, Christian meme page,
Sure.
but we change all of the platitudes and quotes and everything
To gender-neutral.
to, worse, I think feminine. I think feminine would be worse than gender neutral.
Yeah. Well, I say she all the time when I talk about God.
Huh. I can't. I'm programmed.
I don't believe in God, so...
I know. Anyways,
God believes in me, though, which is the
He
wildest thing,
we all do.
is that Jesus actually worships me.
He does, yeah. 100%. I mean, she does. They do. We do.
George
It
Carlin said, if there's a God, it has to be a man. Because a woman would never fuck things up this bad.
That's a great way to put it. So I think I'm really talking to my one friend at this point who's
Not listening to this podcast.
not listening to this podcast.
Okay.
I'll tell him afterwards.
And what's your tip of the week for him?
my
or
tip?
they?
My tip of the week for them is freak the fuck out for 15 minutes and then live your life.
So exactly what I saw on TikTok yesterday.
The wisest words ever spoken.
There's more wise ones, but top 30.
Sure.
Don't pee into the wind. I think that's the wisest words I've ever heard.
Don't piss in the wind.
Anyway, thank you for listening to
Thank you for listening to this podcast, aka Pissing in the Wind Weekly.
True. You can follow us on Instagram, Pissing in the Wind Weekly. On Instagram, Pissing in the Wind on Facebook.
Honestly, that's a great name for a podcast. Can we change it?
No. My name is Willows. This has been Tyler, my
Podcast host
podcast annoyance
in the wind.
in the wind. And we will see you
Next week.
in the week.
Most certainly.
I've actually been like pretty good with uploading. This is my slow season, so I've been like being
On
able to
time.
edit and uploading them like pretty much the week after we do them.
Willows puts in all the work on this podcast.
I know, and I spent all the money on the fucking mics and everything.
Oh, like most of the money.
Yeah, like 80%.
Like 70.
Yeah. So, see you next week.
Thank you. You know it's almost February, right?
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.